The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show. It's time to give a shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mian Mosen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, then you'll love Missing by Mian Mosen Zia. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. It takes place in 4 countries with 2 strangers and 1 target where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. Missing by Mian Mosen Zia has garnered great reviews and is even loved by Hollywood celebrities including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today. Order Missing by Mian Mosen Zia, now available at Amazon.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, it's time for an official shout-out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mian Mosen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mian Mosen Zia. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first to go missing. It's available on paperback and ebook on Amazon. Missing by Mian Mosen Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes missing by Mian Mosen Zia, available on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. Heard worldwide on Geo 7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And don't forget to support the Mike Wagner Show on PayPal, Anchor FM/support. Also, the MikeWagnerShow.com, and click on Donate. And you can also check out the cool merchandise on Amazon.com. Just go to Amazon.com/The Mike Wagner Show for some cool T-shirts. And coming soon, a lot more goodies. Also for some great books by Mian Mosen Zia, and also some T-shirts, hoodies, pop sockets, a lot more. Go to Amazon.com/Mian Mosen Zia and order today. We're here with a terrific author who's a widely published poet and author of 8 previous novels with a nomination for the National Book Award and a regular contributor to national and international literary journals. And he has been often asked a lot for editorial input and to judge contests. And he was living in Newport, Rhode Island, and in Chicago right now. And he's got some great books out there like The Sheamus Curse, Mask of Ghosts, The Coyote-hunter of Aquidneck Island, Hokey Wolf, Hostile Comrade, Frog Dog, and more. And he's been writing books since in his 20s, and he's been an editor for 20 years. And this book is about a gentleman's past controlling his future, which he hasn't lived. And we'll talk about his new book, Bittern Island. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, live from the Plus Studios in beautiful downtown Chicago, the very, very multi-talented author of Bittern Island and more from Beacon Publishing, James Conroy. James, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here with you, Mike. Thank you for asking me.
Well, it's great to have you on as well, James. And, of course, you've been writing since in your early 20s. You've been an editor for 20 years. And you've also got some 8 previous novels, including The Sheamus Curse, Mask of Ghosts, The Coyote-hunter of Aquidneck Island, Hokey Wolf, Hostile Comrade, Frog Dog, and more. And you also got a brand new book called Bittern Island from Beacon Publishing. It's a very, very interesting book about a gentleman's past controlling his future, which a past he has not lived, and very interesting story. It's an amazing mystery thriller. And before getting to all that, tell us how I first got started, James.
Well, actually, I started out as a poet back when I was like in the 6th grade. And, I think the first time that I read William Blake's Tiger, Tiger, I walked around repeating it all the time.
Oh, wow.
And so, and then I started writing some gibberish that a 6th grader writes. And I started to get serious with it and actually kept with it and still do it today. And I've appeared in over 700 literary journals and won some prizes. So I've always considered myself a poet first because I have an intense love of the written word and the spoken word and how it sounds and how we synthesize it to express ideas and emotions. So anyway, I was getting along in life and I decided I should write a couple of short stories and just try that. And I had some modest success. I published about 70 or so of those, and then everybody in the world was saying to me, James, it's time to write a novel. So, which, scared the heck out of me. I've been a reader all my life, but I figured I'd take a wing at it. So the very first book I brought out was a book called Stealing Second, a very small book. And I had a lot of fun writing it because it really... I used a lot of family background to portray some of the Irish idiosyncrasies, and a couple of my extended family relatives were kind of shady characters. So it was bootleggers and such. So it had a lot of that, and I had a lot of fun writing it. Mm-hmm. And 2 agents picked it up, but the market was a little soft back in the middle 90s. So I went with a mid-list publisher on it, and it did pretty well. In fact, I got my first royalty check. I'll never forget it. It's still on my refrigerator. It was for $80.
Amazing. I think people would kill for $80 these days. That is fantastic.
So then, of course, I got full of myself and thought I could, write the great opus of my life. So I wrote the first draft of Bittern Island, and it was just way, way overblown. Mm-hmm. Even I couldn't get through the second draft.
Oh my goodness!
But I liked the story, so I decided I'd do something a little bit more marketable, and so I went into more mystery, thriller, caper type of novels to see what I could do. And I had some good success, but I also had some horrible timing. One of the first successful ones I wrote was called The Anarchist, mm-hmm. and it was about a group of semi-retired terrorists from all the old terrorist organizations like Bitter-Meinhof and the Red Brigade who get together to pull off one last massive anarchist protest. And, of course, the minute I finished it, it was 9/11.
Oh, no.
And every agent in the world said to me, are you out of your mind trying to push a book about old terrorists in the. I said, well, hey, I finished it long before this, guys.
They must have think you're a prophet or something, or a mind reader.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
So I had to put it on the shelf for a little bit, and then a British company picked it up, and they did fairly well with it. A lot of it outside the United States. Then I did a historical book called Literally Dead, which featured some characters from the age of Ernest Hemingway and the start of the labor unions. That got some good reviews, and that really got me on the scoreboard for writing. And then I made another terrible mistake, and I wrote the Sheamus Curse, which was about a bunch of a SEAL team that takes part in the operation to bring down Noriega in Panama. And, of course, they discover that he's got a cache of gold, and they smuggle it back to Chicago to try to pass it off as Al Capone's gold.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, of course, when I started to circulate that manuscript around, what happened? SEALs killed Osama bin Laden.
Oh, no.
Now here I am making them a little bit shady, and everybody else is saying these guys, naturally so, were these tremendous heroes. So that went back on the shelf for a while.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Then my agent said to me, you know what, if you're really looking to make some money, why don't you try writing a romantic thriller? So, Mike, I'm not the most romantic guy you could ever meet.
Don't worry about it. I include myself. I do admit I'm not those overboard ones, but we feel for you guys, but go ahead.
So I wrote a book called One Always Chooses Paris, which takes place in New York and in Africa with a construction company that is protected by a private security force. And when I sent it to my agent, she said, you know what, there's too much action and not enough romance. So I said, okay, well, you know, you're the one that asked me to try. So, but I was able to sell that off as an ebook, and it also did fairly well for a short period of time. But it was about that time, and in between each of these novels, I would pull out Bittern Island, because if nothing else, Mike, I was learning and honing my craft.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that I wrote was getting better and better and better. At least that's what people were telling me. So I felt encouraged. So I would go back to Bittern Island a bunch of times and, you know, just change a few things, cut it down significantly. I had to lop off easily about, 30% of it,
mm-hmm.
and almost started from scratch. But I always loved the idea. And then I was living in Newport, Rhode Island at the time when the coyote issue came out.
Uh-huh.
And everybody was talking about coyotes. So people ask me, what makes you think up the plot of a novel? And I always tell my clients in editing, I did do some creative writing, tutoring, and teaching. I say, you take any premise that you can think of and ask yourself one question: what if?
Uh-huh.
And then put any answer you want to that. So when I was living on Aquidneck Island in the town of Newport, there was a big controversy because they hired a professional hunter to come and thin out the coyotes that were roaming. Aquidneck Island has 3 towns on it: Portsmouth, Newport, and Middletown.
Uh-huh.
And this was, they were doing it at night. It was under, kept very hush-hush. But, of course, it blew up in the media, and, the animal rights people came out, the conservationists came out, and there was, every town hall meeting was about it. So I was sitting there and saying, this is going to make a good story. And my wife said, there's a lot of press out there, maybe you can do something with it. So I asked myself the question, what if?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, so we got a coyote hunter. What if the coyote hunter was a woman?
Huh.
What if the coyote hunter was a woman and a Native American Indian?
Hmm.
What if the coyote hunter was a woman, a Native American Indian, and a former ranger in the U.S. Army?
Huh.
And then that became my character. So Cody Red Moon was her name. And then I needed another protagonist for her to interact with. So I kind of fashioned it a little bit on myself, a upper middle-aged guy with a kind of a sedentary life who is actually an editor. And because he has an isolated piece of land in Middletown, the sheriff asks if the coyote hunter, this Cody Redmond, can park her trailer on his property because they don't want her staying in any of the motels or hotels because the news people are beating the bushes to find out who the coyote hunter is.
Mm-hmm.
So the story goes on from there, and the male protagonist, Micah, has a debilitating disease, and Cody bonds with him and starts to explain to him some of the philosophy of the Native Americans, specifically Pocasset Indian, which is prominent in that area, what their philosophy is about life, about sickness, about death, about family. And in a way, she's actually preparing him for the inevitable, while at the same time, in juxtaposition, she's going out every night and killing coyotes.
Mm-hmm.
So I published that book. Permanent Press in Sag Harbor grabbed it, and it was an instant success because the subject was so hot up and down the Eastern Seaboard. Mm-hmm. And I got excellent reviews, and I was interviewed on the radio, and I did book signings all up and down from Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and the book did well. As you mentioned, I was nominated for the National Book Award. I didn't even make the short list, but I was happy for the nomination.
Yeah, well, you're getting recognition. That's a good thing. I was going to ask you about the coyote situation up in New Hampshire. Were the coyotes a serious threat, at the time, or it was just like simply an overpopulation? So, in other words, with the thinning of the coyotes, were they considered a major threat? Would they go around and terrorizing people, killing animals, invading chickens and all that?
There was in Rhode Island, no people were attacked, but small animals were. I did a lot of research on this when I wrote the book. If you let your dog out in the morning, just at daybreak, you took a good chance it was going to be swiped by a coyote, and they were constantly, turning over garbage cans and foraging. And you would actually see them. I mean, if you went down to the beach, at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, if you were a surfer or something, getting down there early, you'd see them. There'd be 3 or 4 of them meandering through the dunes, heading back into the woods behind it. So it scared more people than it was a hazard. But there's some serious farming in that area. So some livestock was being taken down. There's a lot of dairy farms and some pig farms. There's a turkey farm. And, those guys, what nobody knew, but when I interviewed some of these people, was a lot of the local farmers had been taking care of it all along. Mm-hmm. They had been doing their own thing with thinning out the coyote herd that had the tenacity to come onto their property. But it was when the coyotes got pushed off of their property because of this, and were seen on city streets. Uh-huh. Now, when I'm talking about city, I'm not talking about New York City or Boston. I'm talking about the main drags in, Newport and Middletown, Tiverton. These are larger than villages, but they're certainly not cities. But it certainly was disquieting to most people. And so anyway, the book did well, and it taught me something. I'll tell you something. I'm going to get a little choked up about this, but my late brother had read everything that I had written, and he was always the one badgering me to go back to Bittern Island. But he read Coyote Hunter before it was published, and he sent me a brass bookmark with a quote from Winston Churchill on it, and it just says simply, never, never, never quit. And I still have that on my desk as I'm talking to you, because that gave me the impetus to go back and start writing again for myself instead of writing what I thought I could sell.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stopped looking for the hot issues that would make an agent or a publisher go, oh, yeah, this is the time for this is the time for that. I wanted to do something that had some deeper themes. So that led me right back to the first draft of Bittern Island. And I took it out, and I pretty much started from scratch. I kept the characters, I kept the plot, but I wrote what I wanted to write, and I really didn't care if it was going to sell or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was something that I had to finish.
Uh-huh.
And when it was done, I put it out there, and over the course of a few years, 2 agents picked it up and took it to the Big 10, the Big 15 houses. And everybody thought the writing was beautiful, and I took that as a compliment because I always consider myself a poet.
Mm-hmm.
But they thought that it was still a large book. I mean, we're talking it was 110,000 words,
Mm-hmm.
and the themes in it were, it's part mystery. There's no two ways about that. But it's also a family saga about 3 generations. It's a coming of age of the main protagonist, and it's a literary novel. And they just thought, James, it's a little ambitious for a guy who's not a brand name yet.
Uh-huh.
So, and I had grown up reading the likes of, James Clavell and James A. Michener, these sweeping saga stories.
Mm-hmm.
I would love them. The more pages, the better. I couldn't put them down because you can get lost in an entirely different world. And, understand cultures and meet people that you are probably never going to meet in your life. Where are you going to meet them? You're going to meet them in these books.
Mm-hmm.
And it broadens your perspective and your appreciation of so much. And that's what I wanted to infuse into Bittern Island. Now, coming from, I was born out on Long Island,
Uh-huh.
in New York. So I've been around the ocean all my life.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird since I'm living by a Great Lake now. But, definitely know.
But at least you're getting around, which is good. So
if you, at least there's water. Okay?
that's right. Yeah, one of our favorites. Maybe a novel about water. Who knows?
I'm an Aquarian by birth, so it makes me comfortable.
That explains it.
I used to love all the fishing villages. Freeport, Montauk Point. I mean, I come from a middle-class family, so we weren't exactly, Southampton-type people. So,
Mm-hmm.
so we would gravitate towards the more blue-collar fishing villages. And, we would do some fishing. I even, spent some summers working on boats and had great, opportunities. So when I got married and I found out that my wife has a gypsy spirit, we spent a lot of time camping and traveling, and a lot of the things we did were on different islands.
Huh.
And I used to love the sense of isolation, but community. And what people might not understand with some of these places is there is also a very heavy immigrant population. So you could walk down the street of Montauk Point, you could walk down the street in one of the towns on Block Island or Martha's Vineyard, and you hear the regular people talking Portuguese, Spanish, Vietnamese, and these people are what are making that a whole community. It's it's not the rich people that come and spend a weekend or, have a, $1 million bungalow or anything like that. Community is there when those people go back, to their penthouses, and they have to survive long winters and, depend on each other. And that whole spirit really has always fascinated and endeared itself to me. So I went back to Bittern Island with that, and I said, I want to actually portray a community that is somewhat self-sustaining. Of course, they have to depend on the mainland for, some basic supplies and everything like that. But when nature bears down in my novel, it's a snowstorm, one of the worst of the century, that pretty much shuts this place down. And these people have to literally depend on each other. And the protagonist of the novel, Carl Hoffman, he owns a rental store, and he rents out tools and machinery and things like that. So he becomes like this prime focus because he's helping all these people out. They lost power. He's got generators. They need snow blowers. He's got snow blowers. So he starts to have a big impact on the community around him. But he's a guy who's kind of reticent about, being in the spotlight.
Uh-huh.
This is where the question comes in, what if?
What if?
I got to the story and said, what if Carl has a background that he's not comfortable with?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought about that, and besides those writers that I mentioned to you, Covell and Mitch, I'm a big fan of Alan First, who does a lot of stuff pre-World War II and during World War II in Paris with the underground and simple people's lives that were affected by the coming occupation by the Nazis and how they lived under occupation. And he has a beautiful style for capturing, a mood, a place, and a character with very, very sparse prose.
Mm-hmm.
And so I practiced that and practiced it, and I tried to get the island of Bittern Island to be exactly the way I wanted it to be, but without pages and pages of description. So the initial reviews that I'm getting is that I captured the island perfectly. I'm glad to hear that. But anyway, so to get back to Carl, I devised a plot where his parents are actually Russian defectors.
Mm.
His father was an intelligence officer in the Russian army, and his mother was a prima ballerina.
Oh, okay.
But so she's offered asylum in the West, and the father, Kurt, who's been maligned through some political machination within the Communist Party, he wants to get out too. So they escape. However, during the escape, the mother, ballerina, her name is Galina, she's severely wounded.
Ooh.
And will never dance again.
Uh-huh.
So as far as the American intelligence services are concerned, they've got this woman that they're not going to star at Lincoln Center as a Soviet defector, and she's got a husband who's kind of washed up in the intelligence business, so what are they going to do with them? They come up with the answer. They want to live on this island, Bittern Island, where they will be self-sufficient. Kurt will become a fisherman, and the mother will take in laundry and do things like that, and they'll survive. They just want to be left alone.
Mm-hmm.
The fruit of that relationship is their son, Carl.
Uh-huh.
But he grows up thinking that his parents were actually refugees from Germany prior to World War II.
Uh-huh.
It's not until his mother's dying that she tells Carl what his real heritage is.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes his whole perspective on life.
Wow.
So now you've got a father and a son living alone, a young son living alone on this pretty desolate island. The father, though, is, putting food on the table, being a commercial fisherman. And they have some encounters with the locals around them. But what happens is Carl wants to get away from the island because, as he said, he goes, I want to look some direction where I don't see the sea anymore. So he joins the army, and he does fairly well, and he gets chosen for a covert operation. But they do a background check on each of the participants in the operation, and it comes to light that his parents are Soviet defectors. So he's considered a security risk, and they bounce him.
Mm-hmm.
So he finishes out his tour with working with the Corps of Engineers, and goes back to Bittern Island to confront his father and saying, you're still impacting my life. I mean, this is not, I'm the son of a fisherman, and I'm carrying this burden of you and Mom, having made the decisions that you made, have carried over into my life. But that's true about all of us, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say the sins of the father, but you know what I'm talking about. What has gone before you is definitely going to have a direct effect on what you become and what you're going to do with your life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because the character who plays the father, his name is Kurt Hoffman. His real name is Kurt Voljandi. When he was back in Russia, is a ferocious reader. He reads everything. Extremely intelligent man, and he passes on these books to his son. There's an interesting part in the book where the father walks over to a bookcase and pulls a book out and flips it to his son Carl and says, "It's time you read this." And that is a direct reflection on my own father.
Oh, wow.
My father, of course, we're going back to pre-Depression and Depression. He had a sixth grade education before he had to go out and, earn a living for the family.
Mm-hmm.
And he delivered ice. He was a stable boy for the New York City Police Department. But he read and read and read. And talk about a self-educated man. By the time he died, and he was well into his 90s, he was a vice president of General Foods.
General Foods? Oh, my goodness. I did not know that.
Yeah, the coffee division, Maxwell House.
Ah,
and
one of my favorites. I'm having some right now.
He was an expert on Shakespeare, Dickens, Dostoevsky, Anthony Trollope, and Abraham Lincoln.
Wow.
So much to the point that about 10 years prior to his death, he donated his entire library to a local college, and they were very glad to have it. The thing is, I wish I had that library now.
Oh, my gosh, that's so amazing. And a bit more about Bittern Island and some of your influences and more. We'll talk about more about Bittern Island in just a minute. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable, custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. It's 1-800-303-3960 or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give a shout-out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mia Mosensia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, then you'll love Missing by Mia Mosensia. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first to go missing. It's available on paperback and ebook on Amazon. Missing by Mia Mosensia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassie, Forbes Riley, and many others. So So grab your copy today of Four Goes Missing by me and Mosin Zia, available on Amazon. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. Heard worldwide on Geo 7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. And follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And also, make sure you support The Mike Wagner Show through PayPal.com. Also, TheMikeWagnerShow.com/donate. And also Anchor FM/support. Also, check out the cool merchandise on Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show merchandise and me and Motion Zia for great books, pop sockets, hoodies, t-shirts, and a lot more. So make sure you go to Amazon.com today. We're here with author James Conroy from Beacon Publishing with his book Bittern Island. And we also has books called the Sheamus Curse, The Maskofghosts, Coyotehunter of Aquidneck Island, Hokey Wolf, Hostile Comrade, Fraud Dog, and more. And getting back to Bittern Island as well, too. And how'd you first come up with the idea of writing about Bittern Island? So how this first came about?
Well, as I said, it was my experiences in fishing villages, and I wanted to talk about the close-knit of community and also what can rock a community and test people's integrity, compassion, honesty, because where we left off before, the book has this major snowstorm in it, but when the snow melts in an abandoned fish processing plant, they find a dead body.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have to bring in, there's a local constable, but he's pretty much just a figurehead around the island. He doesn't even give out parking tickets.
Well, I don't want a parking ticket from that guy. He wouldn't know how to write one anyway. So,
so they bring in the state police, and they right away realize that there's someone who has been a recluse on the island who they believe is a major smuggler.
Uh-huh.
And that he's using the island and the convenience of its many moorings and piers to run some of his goods through the island.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the guy himself, his name is Don Ostros. The guy himself has ingratiated himself with all the islanders.
Uh-huh.
He's invested in their businesses. He's helped them out of jams. He's, made sure that, if they needed certain licenses for their fishing vessels. He's been doing favors to ingratiate himself with the locals, and he has. Now, these state investigators come in and say, well, no, we want the real scoop on this guy. And they're very, very, everybody's a little skittish about it. So the lead state police investigator, Colonel Devon, he centers on Carl, the protagonist in the book, and figures there's going to be some way to squeeze this guy to give us what we need to put Ostros away. And it turns out they're right, because the murder victim had been to Carl's store. And Carl has evidence of who he is. And Ostros, trusting Carl as a friend, hides some evidence in one of Carl's storage sheds. And Carl knows it's there. He just doesn't tell the police.
Uh-huh.
So they start to put some pressure on him bureaucratically. Does he have the right licenses to run his business? The EPA comes and checks that he's securing his diesel oil, okay, and testing his water supply. And then they fan out to some of Carl's closest associates. He has an illegal immigrant, Rolando Tabar, as a partner in his business. They find out when they find out he's illegal, they threaten to deport him. And everything they're doing is just trying to put pressure on somebody on the island to break.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Carl decides, and this comes from the intenseness of living in isolation and having to see the same people every day in the same circumstances. Carl realizes for himself the only way that he's going to mollify this situation is have a personal confrontation with Ostros. Basically saying, We all know what you're up to. Now they're bringing all kinds of heat down on us. So either own up or get out. So you know that a mortal confrontation is inevitable. Of course, that's the climax of the book. There is a subplot through the whole story of Carl's relationship. He meets and marries a young woman while he's working as a carpenter in New York, Judith Valente, who turns out to be quite a great painter. And she also has a past somewhat like Carl's, although her parents were not defectors. There's a history of mental illness in her family, and she has a brother who's a ward of the state, and she feels so terrible about it that she and Carl just want anonymity. So her paintings are selling all over the country, but nobody knows who she is. She's just a name. Anyway, so when the final denouement comes down in the novel, the one thing that Ostros wants is Carl has a trove of some of Judith's best paintings that they never sold.
Oh, wow.
And Ostros wants his hands on them before the crap hits the fan.
Oh, so I see.
That adds to how the book finally plays out.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I said, it's a coming of age, it's a love story, and it's a mystery to boot. But with themes of, loyalty, compassion, how do we equate justice in terms of, what we have to do for our neighbors, because their survival is how we are depending on surviving. And we're all in the same boat, and there isn't any, quote, separate peace, unquote. If you've got more than one person, you've got a community. And you increase that exponentially till you've got something the size of, 400 people that live on this isolated island. And there's no way that you can have a separate peace unless you make peace with your surroundings and the people that are in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the point.
And that's very true as well, too. That's a very good story as well, too. And where can we find Bittern Island at?
Oh, well, it's up on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The shipments just started to go out. I don't know yet which bookstores will be carrying it fully, but it can be special ordered anywhere. You'll call up your local bookstore. They can have it in 3 or 4 days. But some of the more local places in New England are going to stock it. Here in Chicago, of course, I'm going to beat down a few doors and get it stocked.
or from some hot dogs or something like Chicago Dogs Deep Dish Pizza. I'm sure they'll buy the book. It's like, the book comes with it if you get a pizza or Chicago dog.
Exactly. I may use you for marketing, Mike, okay? I'll talk to you about that.
Hey, we'll talk more about that later, and we'll also find out what's coming up for author James Conroy of Beacon Publishing. We'll find out just 1 minute. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs, and brought to you by our official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mia Mosensia of Missing, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. We'll be back with author James Conroy of Bittern Island after this time out.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real-life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. It talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple, and more. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn, where The Mike Wagner Show interviews great guests, cool conversation, lots of laughs, coffee, and more. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device, subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today.
Hey, this is Ray Powers. And if there's one thing you can count on in these unpredictable times, it's that you're in good hands getting some great radio, courtesy of The Mike Wagner Show.
We're back with author James Conroy of Beacon Publishing. We talked about Bittern Island here on the Mike Wagner Show. And just a few more things, James. We'd love to have you back on in 2021 and beyond, talking about more of your works. And speaking of your works, what can we expect from you in 2021 and beyond, James?
Well, I've got two things in the works right now. My wife is a social worker, and her specialty is working with older adults, senior citizens that are having problems. Either they're being exploited or abused, or they're not being cared for. So I'm working on it. I know that's depressing, but it's very, very real. So I'm working on a story about that. And I've got another island-type mystery also in the pipeline. And, I work on it every day. So I'm hoping that I can come back to Beacon. They have been terrific. I worked very closely with Bobby Collins there, and their editing, the cover design was all of theirs. They did a great job, so I'm just shooting to get back with them with another book.
That sounds amazing. We're looking forward to have you on again soon as well. And who do you consider biggest influence in career, James?
Biggest influence in my career?
Yes, or can be in general, however you want it.
Well, as I said, the writers that I mentioned, and again, my father was a tremendous influence, and as I said, my older brother, who was really, my father was a working guy, and not home a lot, so my brother was like a second father to me, and all of them encouraged me to write. They said, look, if that's what you want to do, you still got to make a living somewhere else.
Exactly, just like many people, yes.
So I've had my share of jobs. I was a distribution executive for 20 years before I went writing full-time. So, but I think really it's been, if you're sincere with people and they, feel that, they encourage you. Because I told people, look, when I started out, I'm afraid to do this. Supposing I'm no good, maybe I'm going to be a laughingstock. And people just kept encouraging. My wife has been the most incredible partner I could ever have hoped for. She has been with me from the get-go and has backed me, given me the space and the time to do my writing, encouraged me to do it, has done a lot of marketing for me. But yeah, those are the big influences. I'm a very, very lucky man, Mike. I mean, it hasn't been easy. We've had our lean times when I left the corporate world and went into writing full time. It was that $80 check. I'm still surprised it's on the refrigerator.
I guess you want you to cash it or not, but that's not the point. But I'd love to have those $80 checks, and anybody would. And what's the best advice? And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Just what I told you. If there's something that you want, first you got to practice, and then never, never, never quit.
I remember that quote very well, and I remember Winston Churchill in a commercial said, never, never, never give in. Never, never, never give in. Never, never, never give in. And it just rings true to this day.
Yeah, it does. It's, when you're passionate about something, sometimes you become afraid of it. You think it's too big for you. I could never do this because look at all these great writers or great artists or great actors. Do I have what it takes? Well, you don't know unless you give it all you got.
Mm-hmm. And that's a very good point as well. Once again, author James Conroy from Beacon Publishing with Bittern Island here on the Mike Wagner Show. James, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on in the future. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your books?
I appreciate it, Mike. Thank you so much.
And once again, tell us about your website. Where can people contact you, and where can they purchase your books at, including Bittern Island?
As I said, you can get it online from all the major sites, and I would have to update you later as to what stores are carrying it. I know even the Walmart website has it up there now. But the book just came out a week ago, so with the shipping details, I'm not really sure where it's going just yet. I'll update you when I know.
Sounds good. Just keep us up to date, James. A very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Just keep us up to date. And don't forget to keep in touch. You've been absolutely terrific.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Hey, everybody. My name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real-life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. It talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamotionzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.